Have you ever felt that dull ache in your chest when someone you care about begins to drift away? It's like you're standing right next to them, but their mind, their heart, seems miles apart. You send a text, and their response is half-hearted. You plan a special evening, but the spark just isn't there. It stings, doesn't it? That yearning for them to notice you again the way they used to. But here's the real question. What if you're trying too hard? What if the problem isn't that you aren't doing enough, but rather that you're doing too much? Imagine flipping the script. Instead of chasing their attention, what if they started chasing yours? Picture them gravitating toward you naturally, drawn to your energy and presence without you lifting a finger. Is this the stuff of Hollywood romances, or could it really happen in real life? The truth is, it can. And today, we're diving into how. But this isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. Instead, we'll draw wisdom from timeless principles, including Stoicism, to show you how to master yourself and let your quiet strength and confidence do the rest. The last tip we'll discuss is the most transformative of them all. So stay with me until the end, because what you'll discover there may just change the way you see yourself and your relationships forever. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. Let them feel your absence. How often do you find yourself chasing after someone who seems indifferent to your efforts? You send the good morning texts, plan the thoughtful gestures, and clear your schedule for them. Yet somehow they seem to slip further away. It's frustrating, isn't it? But let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave them the chance to miss you? Here's a truth that's hard to swallow. The more you chase, the more they pull away. The harder you try to stay in their orbit, the easier it becomes for them to take your presence for granted. Why? Because constant availability can dull your value in their eyes. People often fail to appreciate what is always within reach. But what if you step back? What if, instead of chasing their attention, you allowed them to feel your absence? You see, absence creates a void, a space where someone is left to reflect on what they're missing. In this space, they begin to realize the value of your presence. It's a natural law of human behavior. We only start to truly value something when we're faced with the possibility of losing it. Imagine skipping that daily text you always send. Imagine not being the first to reach out or plan the next date. Does it feel risky? It might. But remember this. Your goal isn't to manipulate, it's to shift the dynamic so that your presence is no longer taken for granted. Now, let's connect this idea to the philosophy of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In relationships, this means understanding that you cannot control how others act, but you can control how you respond. Instead of trying to hold their attention through constant effort, reclaim your own energy. Focus on mastering yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your presence. This isn't about ignoring someone or punishing them with silence. It's about creating balance. You're giving them the gift of time and space to reflect on your value. When you step back, you're allowing them to take the lead. You're giving them the opportunity to reach out, to notice your absence, and to realize what they've been taking for granted. But let's be honest, this requires courage. It's not easy to step back when you're used to being the one who initiates and gives. You might worry that they'll lose interest or drift away entirely. But consider this. If someone's interest in you fades simply because you stopped chasing, was it truly genuine in the first place? Taking a step back also forces you to confront your own insecurities. Are you seeking their attention to validate your worth? Are you afraid of being alone? These are tough questions, but answering them honestly is the first step toward reclaiming your power. As you create this space, something remarkable begins to happen. They start to feel the shift. They begin to notice your absence, and with it, the unique energy you bring into their life. It's in this quiet void that desire starts to rekindle. They begin to gravitate toward you, not because you've pushed or pulled, but because your absence has highlighted the irreplaceable value of your presence. So take a deep breath, step back. Let them feel your absence. It's a small but powerful act of self-mastery, one that aligns perfectly with the Stoic ideal of control over oneself rather than others. And as you do, Prepare to see the dynamic shift, not through force, but through the quiet strength of your own presence. And speaking of quiet strength, this leads us perfectly into the next principle: how to be their oasis in a chaotic world. Are you ready to discover how to become the one they instinctively turn to? Let's dive in. 2. Be their oasis, not their savior. Have you ever noticed how life can feel like a relentless desert? The chaos, the stress, the endless noise, it wears people down. And in relationships, when someone's life feels overwhelming, they instinctively search for refuge. Now here's a question for you. When someone you care about is wandering in this desert, are you the calming oasis they crave? Or are you just another source of noise? Let me tell you something profound. The person who becomes an oasis, a source of peace, calm, and stability, will always be irreplaceable. But here's the catch. Being their oasis doesn't mean you fix all their problems or sacrifice yourself to ease their burdens. It's not about being their savior, it's about being a refuge, a place where their storm quiets simply because you're there. Think about it. Everyone is fighting battles you can't see. Stress, insecurities, doubts, they weigh heavily on all of us. Most people add to this chaos either by reacting emotionally, feeding into the drama, or being unavailable when they're needed most. But you, my friend, have a choice. You can be different. You can be the calm in their storm. And when you embody this peace, they won't be able to stay away. How do you achieve this? Let's draw again from Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to remain composed and steady, no matter what chaos surrounds us. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your peace begins with mastering your own emotions. Picture this. Your partner comes to you stressed, their life spiraling out of control. Most people might react emotionally, trying to fix the situation or offering unsolicited advice. But you listen. You remain present. You create a space where they feel seen and heard without judgment. Your calm energy becomes contagious, and suddenly, the tension they brought with them starts to fade. It's not about having all the answers or always knowing the right thing to say. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply be there, fully present, fully grounded. This is what makes you an oasis. But there's a line you mustn't cross. Being an oasis doesn't mean letting someone drain you dry. You are not a doormat for their problems, nor are you responsible for carrying their emotional weight. Remember, Stoicism teaches balance. You can offer peace without sacrificing your own. Protect your energy and ensure that the support you provide comes from a place of strength, not obligation. Now, let me ask you this. How would it feel to know that someone craves your presence not because you're constantly available, but because being around you makes their life lighter? Imagine them seeking you out, not because you've chased them, but because they can't resist the clarity and calm you bring. Here's a truth that may surprise you. The people we're most drawn to aren't the loudest or the flashiest. They're the ones who make us feel at peace. They're the ones who make the chaos of the world seem a little less daunting. You can be that person. And when you are, people will naturally gravitate toward you. The challenge is this. Are you willing to cultivate that inner calm? Are you willing to prioritize your own peace so you can offer it to others without losing yourself? It's not easy. Life will test you. There will be moments when you feel the pull to react, to get caught up in the whirlwind of emotions. But when you resist that pull, when you remain steady and grounded, you become the one they'll always return to. So here's your next step. Start practicing your own peace of mind. Whether it's through journaling, mindfulness, or simply taking moments of silence for yourself, build the foundation of calm within. When you do, your relationships will transform. You'll notice how people begin to seek you out, not because you've done anything extraordinary, but because your presence feels like home. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments by saying, I am their oasis. And if you're ready to embody this calm energy, give this video a like. It's a small action, but it's a powerful way to commit to the change you want to see in yourself and your relationships. Now, let's take this a step further. You've learned how to create peace within and become a grounding force for others. But what if I told you there's an even deeper, quieter power that makes people gravitate toward you? Stay with me, because next we'll explore the secret of the quiet storm, the silent strength that commands attention without a single word. You don't want to miss this. Let's keep going. 3. Embody the quiet storm. What does it mean to hold true power? Is it in the loudness of your voice, the force of your actions, or the effort you exert to be noticed? Or is it something deeper, something subtler? The truth is, real power isn't loud, it's quiet. It's steady. It's the kind of calm strength that doesn't need to demand attention because it naturally commands it. Think of a storm brewing on the horizon. It doesn't scream for recognition, it simply exists, its quiet presence impossible to ignore. The air shifts, the atmosphere changes, and everyone feels it without a word being spoken. This is the essence of what I call the quiet storm, the unshakable, magnetic presence that draws others in without you lifting a finger. Now ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly mastered stillness? When was the last time you let your calmness speak louder than words? In a world full of noise and chaos, those who cultivate stillness become beacons of strength. People are drawn to them, not because they shout the loudest, but because their presence radiates confidence and control. Let's break this down. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated situation. Emotions are running high, everyone around you is reacting, and the tension is palpable. Most people will match the chaos, either by escalating it or by frantically trying to diffuse it. But the one who remains calm, the one who holds their ground without giving in to the storm, that's the person everyone notices. Why? Because calmness is power. This is where Stoicism becomes your guide. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. In moments of tension, your ability to control your response, your choice to remain calm and composed, shifts the entire dynamic. You become the anchor in the storm, the force of stability others can't help but gravitate toward. Now, you might be wondering, does this mean I should suppress my emotions or never speak up? Not at all. The quiet storm isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending to be unaffected. It's about mastering your reactions, choosing how and when to respond, rather than being swept away by impulsive emotions. It's about showing that your strength isn't tied to outward displays of force, but to the depth of your inner calm. Here's the beauty of the quiet storm. It makes you unpredictable in the best way. When you don't react impulsively, when you don't respond in the way others expect, you create mystery. People start to wonder what's going on beneath the surface. They're drawn to the quiet confidence that says, "I don't need to prove myself, and I don't need to explain myself." This composure speaks volumes. Imagine this scenario. Someone you care about does something that irritates or disappoints you. Your first instinct might be to confront them immediately, to express your frustration, or to demand answers. But what if, instead, you paused? What if you gave yourself time to process, to reflect, and to choose your response with intention? That pause, that silence changes everything. It shows strength, self-control, and a deep understanding of your own power. Now think about how this applies to relationships. When you embody the quiet storm, you're no longer chasing their attention or reacting to every shift in their behavior. Instead, you're holding your ground, radiating an energy that draws them to you naturally. People are intrigued by those who seem calm and composed under pressure. They start to respect and admire you, not because you've demanded it, but because you've earned it through your actions, or lack thereof. But let's not romanticize this too much. It's not always easy to be the quiet storm. Life will challenge you. There will be moments when the pull to react is strong, when silence feels unbearable. In those moments, remember this. Your ability to stay calm isn't about suppressing yourself. It's about choosing yourself. It's about showing that your inner peace cannot be disturbed by external chaos. When you practice this kind of stillness, something remarkable happens. People begin to seek you out, not because you've tried to win their attention, but because your presence makes them feel steadier. You become their anchor, the person they turn to when their world feels unsteady. And here's the real magic. This kind of presence doesn't just draw people in, it creates lasting connections based on mutual respect and admiration. So the next time life tempts you to react, to yell, to chase, to explain yourself, pause. Take a deep breath. Let the storm around you rage while you remain steady in the eye of it. Because the one who masters the quiet storm isn't just noticed, they're unforgettable. And now, as we've explored the power of stillness, let's turn to another irresistible quality: the art of giving just enough and walking away. This next principle is about creating desire by leaving them wanting more. Are you ready? Let's move forward. 4. Give them a taste and walk away. Desire is a curious thing, isn't it? We're wired to crave what we can't quite have. Think about the last time you truly wanted something. Wasn't part of the allure the fact that it felt just out of reach? Now, let me ask you this. Are you giving too much of yourself too soon? Are you laying all your cards on the table before the other person even sits down to play? If so, it's time to rethink your approach. The secret to creating desire isn't in overgiving. It's in knowing when to step back. When you give someone a taste of what you have to offer and then walk away, you spark curiosity. You create a void, a sense of incompleteness. That leaves them wanting more. This isn't manipulation, it's an understanding of how attraction works. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're sitting down to an incredible meal. The first bite is so good it almost takes your breath away. Your senses are alive, your anticipation builds. But just as you're ready for the next bite, the plate is taken away. Frustrating, maybe. But what happens next? You find yourself thinking about that meal long after it's gone. The taste lingers in your mind, leaving you craving more. Now, let's apply this to relationships. When you offer someone just enough of your energy, attention, or presence to spark a connection, but not enough to satisfy their curiosity, you create anticipation. You become a puzzle they want to solve, a mystery they want to uncover. And in their pursuit of you, the dynamic shifts. Instead of you doing the chasing, they start chasing you. But how do you walk this fine line? It starts with recognizing your own value. When you know that what you bring to the table is rare and worth pursuing, you no longer feel the need to overcompensate or overgive. You understand that your presence is a privilege, not something to be taken for granted. Now, let's tie this to Stoicism. Seneca reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The same principle applies to relationships. True wealth isn't in giving everything away at once. It's in understanding what is worth offering and when. By holding back just enough, you ensure that your value is clear and undeniable. Here's the mistake many people make. They believe that giving more will deepen the connection. They pour their time, energy, and love into someone, hoping it will create a stronger bond. But too much too soon can have the opposite effect. It can make you seem too available, too predictable. And when something is too easily available, its value diminishes. So how do you give them a taste and walk away? It's about balance. For example, if you've been texting someone constantly, take a step back. Don't disappear entirely. This isn't about playing games. But instead of initiating every conversation, let them take the lead. If you've been going out of your way to plan dates or make time for them, pause. Let them wonder what you're up to. Allow them the space to miss you. This approach does something powerful. It shifts the dynamic. When you walk away after offering just enough, you're setting a standard. You're showing them that your time and attention are valuable. And when someone starts to see you as valuable, they'll begin to invest more effort into earning your presence. Of course, this isn't always easy. You might feel the urge to give more, to fill the silence, to ensure that they stay interested. But remember, the more you chase, the less they have to work for your attention. By stepping back, you're giving them the opportunity to step forward. And in that shift, desire is born. Here's another way to think about it. When you withhold just enough, you create a sense of exclusivity. You become like a rare, limited edition item, something others feel lucky to have access to. And as we all know, people value what feels rare and special. By giving them a taste and walking away, you remind them that your presence is not something they can take for granted. Now, you might be wondering, what if they lose interest? What if walking away pushes them further away instead of drawing them closer? This is where trust in yourself comes in. If someone's interest fades because you stopped overgiving, then their interest wasn't rooted in genuine appreciation. True connection isn't about constant pursuit, it's about mutual respect and effort. So the next time you feel tempted to give too much, pause. Offer just enough to create that spark, then step back and let them take the next step. Watch as the balance shifts as they begin to crave the connection you once worked so hard to maintain. When you give them a taste and walk away, you're not just creating desire, you're setting the foundation for a dynamic built on mutual investment and effort. And that, my friend, is where true connection begins. Speaking of connection, the next principle takes this idea even deeper. What if I told you that understanding someone's insecurities could bring you closer than ever? Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll explore how reflecting their vulnerabilities can create a bond that's both powerful and lasting. Let's keep going. 5. Reflect their insecurities without judgment. Have you ever felt truly seen by someone, not just for the polished version of yourself that you show to the world, but for the hidden parts, the insecurities you try to keep buried? It's rare, isn't it? Most people are afraid to look too closely, either at themselves or at others. But here's a truth you may not have considered. When you gently reflect someone's insecurities back to them, without judgment, you create a connection that is both profound and magnetic. Let's be honest, everyone has insecurities. Even the most confident, self-assured people have cracks in their armor. These vulnerabilities are part of being human, and often they are the very things we try hardest to hide. But what if, instead of ignoring or avoiding these insecurities, you acknowledged them? What if you became the person who sees someone for who they truly are, flaws and all, and still chooses to stand by them? Here's where it gets powerful. When you hold up a mirror to someone's insecurities in a compassionate way, you break through the walls they've built. You become the person who understands them on a deeper level, the one who isn't afraid of their truth. This kind of connection isn't just rare, it's unforgettable. How do you do this? It begins with observation. Pay attention to the subtle ways people reveal their fears. Maybe they constantly seek validation, or they avoid certain topics, or they overcompensate with bravado. These behaviors often point to insecurities they're trying to mask. Your role isn't to call them out harshly, but to create a safe space where those insecurities can be acknowledged without shame. For example, imagine someone you care about always tries to appear perfect. They never admit mistakes, and they work tirelessly to maintain a flawless image. Instead of praising their perfection or pointing out their flaws, you might say something like, "You know, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You're already more than enough." A simple statement like this can cut through their defenses and offer reassurance they didn't even know they needed. Now let's bring in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." This wisdom teaches us that insecurities often stem from how we perceive ourselves, not from external reality. By reflecting someone's insecurities in a kind and non-judgmental way, you help them see that they are not defined by their fears. You offer them a chance to redefine their narrative. But here's an important distinction. Reflecting someone's insecurities isn't about fixing them or taking on their emotional baggage. You are not their savior, and it's not your job to solve their problems. Your role is to be a compassionate witness, to show them that their vulnerabilities don't make them unworthy, they make them human. Now let me ask you this. How often do you allow yourself to truly see others? How often do you look beyond the surface and acknowledge the fears they're trying to hide? It's not always easy. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to hold up that mirror, especially if you're worried about how they might react. But here's the thing. Most people are so used to hiding that when someone finally sees them, it's like a weight being lifted. They feel understood in a way they never have before. And when you become that person, the one who isn't afraid to go deeper, you create a bond that goes far beyond surface-level attraction. You become the person they trust, the one they turn to when the masks they wear become too heavy. So how do you practice this in your relationships? Start by listening, truly listening. Pay attention not just to what they say, but to what they don't say. Watch for the moments when their confidence wavers, when their laughter feels forced, or when their words don't quite match their emotions. These are the moments when insecurities often peek through. And when you notice them, don't rush to fill the silence or gloss over the discomfort. Instead, acknowledge it gently, with compassion and care. Let's go back to the idea of the mirror. When you reflect someone's insecurities, you're showing them a version of themselves they may have been avoiding. But because you're doing it without judgment, you're also showing them that their fears don't define them. You're offering them the gift of self-awareness, and that is a gift most people rarely receive. If this concept resonates with you, drop a comment below saying, "I see you." Let's remind ourselves and others that true connection comes from looking beyond the surface and embracing the messy, vulnerable parts of being human. And if you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to like this video. Your support helps bring these life-changing ideas to more people, and it's a small way to commit to your own growth in the process. Now that we've explored the power of seeing and reflecting insecurities, let's turn to an even subtler form of attraction. What happens when you stop chasing entirely and let the other person do the pursuing? Stay with me, because in the next section we'll uncover the art of letting them chase the shadow of your presence. Let's dive deeper. 6. Let them chase the shadow. Have you ever noticed how people are drawn to things they can't fully grasp? It's human nature to reach for what feels just out of reach. We're intrigued by the mysterious, captivated by the unattainable. So here's a question. Are you giving someone too much of yourself too easily? Or are you creating a sense of intrigue, a shadow they feel compelled to chase? This principle isn't about withholding affection or playing games. It's about understanding a simple truth. When you are too available, too predictable, people begin to take your presence for granted. But when you leave a little to the imagination, when you let them wonder about you, you spark curiosity. And curiosity fuels attraction. Think about it. When was the last time you felt captivated by someone who laid everything bare from the beginning? Chances are, the people who linger in your mind, the ones you can't stop thinking about, are those who left you with questions. What motivates them? What's going on in their mind? That sense of mystery is powerful, and it's something you can cultivate. Let's explore how this works in practice. Imagine you've been the one doing all the pursuing, texting first, planning dates, initiating conversations. It might feel natural to you. After all, you're interested in them, and you want to show it. But over time, this can create a one-sided dynamic. They grow accustomed to your efforts, and the thrill of pursuit fades. Now, what happens if you stop chasing? Not in a dramatic or hostile way, but in a quiet, confident way. You step back. You don't text them first. You don't immediately respond to every message. You stop being the one who always reaches out or makes the plans. Suddenly, the balance shifts. They begin to notice your absence, to wonder what you're up to question why the dynamic has changed. This is the shadow you leave behind, the lingering sense of your presence even when you're not there. It's not about disappearing or playing hard to get. It's about showing them that your time, your energy, your attention are valuable. You're no longer always available, and that makes them realize they can't take you for granted. Stoicism offers profound guidance here. Epictetus said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." When you focus too much on trying to control how someone sees you or how much attention they give you, you lose your own power. By stepping back, by letting them chase the shadow of your presence, you regain control, not over them, but over yourself. This approach also allows you to focus on your own growth and happiness. When you stop chasing, you create space, not just for them to come toward you, but for you to reconnect with your own priorities. What passions or interests have you set aside while focusing on them? What goals have you delayed? By shifting your energy inward, you not only strengthen yourself but also become more magnetic. The key to letting them chase the shadow is balance. You're not vanishing or cutting them off. You're simply creating enough space for them to feel the weight of your absence and the value of your presence. You're giving them the opportunity to invest in the relationship, to show that they care, to meet you halfway. Of course, this requires patience. The urge to reach out to fill the silence can be strong. But remember, silence can be powerful. It's in those moments of stillness, when they're left wondering about you, that the dynamic begins to shift. They start to think about you more, to miss your energy, to feel the pull to reconnect. Let's take a moment to reflect on this dynamic. When you constantly chase, you're putting all the effort into maintaining the connection. But when you step back, you allow them to feel the void and to decide whether they value you enough to fill it. This is where true mutual effort begins, when both parties are equally invested. Now think about the people who've left a lasting impact on you. Chances are they weren't the ones who overwhelmed you with their availability or tried to force a connection. They were the ones who left just enough unanswered, who gave you the space to pursue them, to earn their attention. You can become that person, the one they chase, the one they think about, the one they're drawn to without even knowing why. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, pause. Instead, let them feel the shadow of your absence. Give them the space to realize what they're missing. And in the process, watch how the dynamic shifts, not because you've demanded their attention, but because they've chosen to give it. With this understanding, you're now ready to embrace the final and perhaps most subtle principle of attraction. What if the power to draw others toward you lies not in what you say or do, but in the silent confidence you radiate? Stay with me, because next, we'll explore the art of becoming the quiet storm, a force so compelling it commands attention without a single word. Let's continue. 7. Become the quiet storm. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it doesn't make a sound at all. The quiet storm is a paradox, a presence so calm and composed that it commands attention without effort. It doesn't demand to be noticed, but it is unforgettable. Let me ask you this. How do you show up in the world? Are you a source of calm that draws others in, or do you get lost in the noise and chaos of daily life? The quiet storm is about mastering your energy. It's about moving through the world with a steady, confident presence that leaves others intrigued. When you embody this principle, you become magnetic, not because of what you do or say, but because of who you are. There's a mystery in stillness, a power in restraint. People feel it even if they can't explain it. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're in a conversation where emotions are running high. Perhaps someone is upset, raising their voice, trying to dominate the exchange. The natural response for many is to match that energy, to react with equal intensity. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of raising your voice, you lowered it? What if, instead of reacting impulsively, you paused, listened, and responded with calm clarity? That shift in energy changes everything. This is the essence of the quiet storm. It's about staying composed in the face of chaos. It's about showing others that you don't need to shout to be heard or act impulsively to have an impact. Your stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting their behavior back at them. And in that reflection, they begin to see their own chaos more clearly. Stoicism gives us a powerful framework for embodying the quiet storm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The storm is not what's happening around you. The storm is what's happening inside you. When you master your inner world, you become unshakable. People are naturally drawn to this strength because it's so rare. I think about the people in your life who've left the strongest impressions. Were they the loudest, the most reactive, the ones who always had to be the center of attention? Or were they the ones who seemed grounded, self-assured, and unbothered by the noise around them? The quiet storm doesn't demand the spotlight. It becomes the spotlight because it offers something different. Stability in a world full of chaos. But how do you cultivate this presence? It starts with self-awareness. Notice how you respond to stress or tension. Do you feel the urge to react immediately, to assert yourself, to prove something? If so, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this response coming from a place of strength or insecurity? The more you practice this pause, the more you train yourself to respond with intention rather than impulse. Another key to becoming the quiet storm is mastering the art of listening. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, few take the time to truly listen. When you listen, really listen, you set yourself apart. People feel valued in your presence. They sense that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but that you genuinely care about what they're saying. This quiet attention is magnetic. And then there's the power of mystery. The quiet storm doesn't reveal everything at once. It doesn't rush to fill silences or explain itself. It lets the pauses linger, lets the questions remain unanswered. This doesn't mean being aloof or distant. It means being intentional about what you share and when. By holding some things back, you create intrigue. You give others a reason to lean in, to want to know more. Now, let's be clear. Becoming the quiet storm doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending to be unaffected by life. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about mastering your emotions so they don't control you. It's about showing others that you can be both strong and kind, calm and passionate, steady and dynamic. When you embrace the quiet storm, you create a presence that others can't ignore. People will find themselves drawn to you, not because you've chased their attention, but because your energy speaks for itself. It tells them that you are someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, someone who doesn't need validation, someone who knows their worth. Imagine being in a room full of people and feeling no need to compete for attention. Imagine moving through the world with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are. This is the power of the quiet storm. It's not about doing more, it's about being more. It's about becoming the kind of person others gravitate toward because your calmness is a refuge, your strength is inspiring, and your presence is unforgettable. Reflect on this. How can you start embodying the quiet storm in your daily life? What small changes can you make to master your emotions, cultivate your calm, and radiate confidence? The answers to these questions aren't just the key to attracting others, they're the key to transforming yourself. Now that we've explored each principle, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. What ties all these ideas together is a single, undeniable truth. Your power lies within you. It's not about chasing, convincing, or forcing others to notice you. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, your energy, your presence, and letting that quiet confidence draw others toward you. Think about everything we've covered. You've learned to let them feel your absence, to become an oasis of calm in their chaotic world, and to embrace the mystery of the quiet storm. You've discovered the art of giving just enough and walking away, reflecting insecurities with compassion, and letting them chase the shadow of your presence. Each principle is a piece of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that begins and ends with your own self-worth. Let's return to the core of Stoicism, which has guided our journey. Epictetus reminds us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In relationships, this truth becomes even more powerful. You cannot control how others act, but you can control how you respond. You can choose whether to chase or to step back, to react impulsively or to remain composed, to prove yourself or to simply be yourself. But let me ask you, are you ready to embrace this power? Are you ready to stop seeking validation from others and start believing in your own value? If the answer is yes, then you're already on the path to becoming magnetic. The principles we've discussed aren't quick fixes or tricks to manipulate others. They're timeless truths about human nature and the art of connection. They work not because they change others, but because they transform you. Here's your challenge moving forward. Take these principles and apply them to your life. Start small. Notice where you're overextending yourself and step back. Practice patience and stillness when emotions run high. Create space for others to miss your presence and pursue your energy. And most importantly, remember that you are enough. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your quiet strength speaks for itself. As you step into this new way of being, you'll notice something remarkable. The people who matter will gravitate toward you naturally. They'll crave your energy, seek your presence, and respect your boundaries. And for those who don't, let them drift away. Your value isn't diminished by those who fail to see it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Focus on your own growth, your own peace, and the right people will follow. Now it's your turn. Reflect on what you've learned. Which principle resonates with you the most? Which one do you feel ready to embrace? If these ideas have sparked something within you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else to reclaim their own power. If this journey has helped you see yourself and your relationships in a new light, Share this video with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like these. Together, we're building a community of people who are stepping into their power, mastering themselves, and creating relationships that are meaningful and magnetic. Thank you for being here, for investing in yourself, and for taking the first steps toward becoming the person others gravitate toward. Remember, the change begins with you. And as you move forward, may your quiet strength and unshakable presence light the way. You are enough. You always have been. Until next time, stay grounded, stay confident, and stay true to yourself.